Pretty much everybody knows and loves pasta, the signature dish of Italy. But do you know much about the history of this delicious food? How did we end up with so many varieties of pasta? The most primitive types of pasta were definitely known in Greek times, in the southern part of Italy called Megale Elas, named by the Greeks who had founded many colonies in the region. Pasta was also known in Etruria, a region north of Rome. Etruscans called it laganon, and the Greeks called it makaria, which means the happy food, used in offerings. The former refers to a mixture of flour and water, producing large edible ribbons, developing later into what we call in Italian lasagne. The word makaria closely resembles the modern word maccheroni, often referred to as macaroni, a word connected with the Italian verb maccare, meaning to press and dent, or since we are talking about pasta, to knead. The interesting thing is the composition of this early pasta. We are referring here to what can be called pasta secca, or dry pasta, versus fresh pasta. This pasta is made with what the Romans called triticum durum, or emmer wheat, a different kind of wheat from the one normally known by the Greeks and the Romans. Possibly coming from Africa, this hard wheat has a very high gluten content and little moisture. This offers the possibility of a final product which is easier to stretch and harder to break, not to mention the fact that it maintains the texture during the cooking process. And you know that Italians are very fussy about pasta al dente. There is a high probability that the Etruscans already knew of durum wheat. Many of us learned that it was Marco Polo who brought pasta back to Europe from China, but is this really true? The answer is no. This piece of information seems to be completely anachronistic and false. From Marco Polo's diaries, it is clear that he already had knowledge of pasta secca, like lasagne, a word that may be from the Arabic laudzinai, vermicelli, which means little worms, and other forms of pasta before he encountered it in the Far East. He even uses the word lagana. Furthermore, he never mentions the fact that the wheat from China has the remarkable properties of long shelf life and high gluten. Therefore, nothing really new was brought back from China to Venice. Not only is it the case that China didn't have durum wheat at the time, but pasta was actually made with rice or other grains like millet, which also utilize very different kneading processes. So it is quite possible that it was actually the Arabs who developed pasta, whose nomadic tribes needed something easy to transport that was non-perishable. Perhaps we can also conclude that both China and Europe innovated this independently of one another to develop their own pasta, creating a myriad of variations, all pretty delicious as the result of two very different cultures. Now, focusing on how pasta developed in Italy, let's talk about the varieties of pasta, starting with pasta fresca. This is fresh pasta, as opposed to dry, hard pasta called pasta secca. Pasta fresca is not seen as better than pasta secca, it's simply a different product. Dry pastas are seen as better for certain kinds of sauces, and Italians consume it as much as fresh pasta, if not more. But what anyone will immediately notice is the incredible number of shapes and varieties that exist, each with their own distinct names. The same pasta can even have different names according to the region in question. How many varieties, you ask? Well, there are more than 300 different types of pasta and over 1,000 different names, so we won't get through them all right now, but let's hit all of the classics. First, let's go over fresh pasta. This is made with eggs and farina 00, or flour 00, which is a low-gluten flour. These can be homemade or bought in special stores and supermarkets. Here are some varieties. Fettuccine. These are flat ribbons about 1 centimeter wide. Tagliatelle. These are also ribbons, though a little wider than fettuccine. Pappardelle are very wide ribbons, usually prepared with wild boar sauce. Lasagne should be familiar. These are the widest flat ribbons, prepared in layers, and in between can be placed meat, cheese, and vegetables in any combination. Maltagliati are little chunks of irregularly shaped ribbon. In fact, it literally means badly cut or misshapen. Orecchiette, or little ears, is the typical pasta of Apulia. Amongst the fresh pastas, there are types of pasta ripiena, which means filled. Ravioli, which means small turnips, are little pillows stuffed with different ingredients like cheese, meat, or vegetables. Tortellini, or small cakes, are made into a ring or navel shape and stuffed with roughly the same things as ravioli. Cannelloni, or manicotti, meaning large sleeves or reeds, are tubes stuffed with spinach and ricotta. Now we move on to pasta secca. These are factory-made with durum semolina and water. These we will have to cover in groups according to shape, as there are so many. First, pasta lunga, which are thin and long. Spaghetti means little twines, and for whatever reason, this has become the American conception of pasta. Italians like spaghetti very much, but it is in no way special or preferred over other types of pasta, so it is somewhat of a mystery as to how this became the quintessential pasta in America. Bucatini is spaghetti with a hole through the noodle. Linguine, which means little tongues, is a type of flat spaghetti. Now let's try pasta corta, or short pasta. Conchiglie means shells, and for good reason, as they look like seashells. Farfalle means butterflies, though this pasta also resembles bow ties. Fusilli and rotini are spiral pastas. Gemelli means twins, and these resemble braids. Rigatoni are short tubes with grooves in them. These are also called ziti in the US. Rotelle are like little wagon wheels. Strozzapreti, which means strangle the priest, are like irregular channels that are supposed to be so good that even a cautious priest would choke on them. And of course, the very popular penne, which means quills, because of the angled edges that resemble the instrument of a medieval scribe. Finally, let's cover pasta in brodo, which means in a broth. Lancette means little spears. Annellini means small rings. Stelline means little stars. Ditalini means small thimbles. Orzo are very tiny and barley-shaped. And quadrettini are small squares. As we said, there are several hundred types of pasta, so we have just scratched the surface, but these are more or less the classics, so it is likely that we have covered every single pasta you were aware of, and hopefully introduced you to a few new ones as well.
Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel for more tutorials. Support me on Patreon so I can keep making content. And as always, feel free to email me, ProfessorDaveExplains@gmail.com.